We're back then with another legendary and exotic gear preview for Marvel's Avengers. Today we will look at Captain America. Now, as always, before we jump in and look at these sets, big thanks to Throwbones, who started off this whole series really with the spreadsheet where he was collating all the information on these sets. That's now grown into a Discord called the Sign Table, which is a fantastic place to go to geek out in fairy craft. So I will put a link to the spreadsheet in the comments below. The second one being, with these gear sets, there was a nerf where the perks were changed from 3 perks on the legendary items down to 2, so they're not as good as they used to be, but for certain builds some of these sets can certainly still be a very nice starting point. But in most instances you'll find that if you do get a perfectly rolled random legendary, which will probably be 1 in every 10,000 or 100,000 drops, then it will be better than these, but these are a great place to actually start off. So let's jump in and we'll go through. I'll give my opinions on the sets and I'll tell you which ones I would recommend farming and for which builds as well. The first set we look at here is the Super Soldier set. This drops from the elite bosses. It can be any of the bosses. You don't have to farm a particular one for a particular gear piece. In regards to the stats that appears on each of these sets, it's always the same stats, so you don't have Valor or anything like that appearing. So if you're using quite a few of the items, then you'll need to get Valor through other means such as your minor artifacts. But looking at the slots here, slots 1 and 2 have variable effects on them. These generally aren't really that powerful at all, and you can find a better piece pretty easy. But a variable effect will be a random status effect. It's generally on a random attack. However, if it is a melee item, it will be on a certain melee attack. In ranged items, it will be on ranged attacks. But if we move on to the slot 3, which is the chest plate, it gets a bit more interesting here. You have Defender's Justice, so this grants 20 points of shield block energy when successfully parrying an enemy attack. The next perk, we don't have the name for it, but we have the description, so it's 15% damage reduction when Rally Cry is active. So from a tanking perspective, this can be a nice starter set. The next item can actually work with this pretty well as well in regards to a tanking set, so it's called Safeguard. It's got Rally Cry Breaker, so it's 15% increased damage from Rally Cry, and then it also has Heroic Assistance that increases the charge rate of Heroic support ability by 18%. Your Heroic support is your Rally Cry, so if you were to go for a tanky setup and use slots 3 and 4, you'll get your support skill more often, you'll do more damage when you're using it, and you'll take less damage as well, so it can be a decent set to start off with. The next set we have here is the NOMAD set. This drops from the elite vaults. Once again, it can be any vault as long as it is an elite one. You don't have to farm a particular vault for a particular item. Looking at slots 1 and 2, they just have the variable effects again, so they're really nothing special. The slot 3, which is the armour, that's got Brawler's Vigour, so that extends the duration of Brooklyn Brawler by 2 seconds. That's decent. We now have, I believe, a patch potentially to Brooklyn Brawler where it doesn't pause when you're doing takedowns. At least some people in Discord have said it appears to be working that way for them, so the extra 2 seconds could be decent to add on to it. Next perk, we don't have the name for it, but it's a 15% damage reduction when Commander's Call buff is active, so that will provide you with a fair amount of survivability, and you can get that Commander's Call buff up really pretty often. I believe you can get it up to 18 seconds. You could possibly, if you wanted, get 100% uptime on it, so 100% uptime on a 15% damage reduction. That sounds pretty nice. Looking at the slot 4, its Impact Break is the first perk, so it further reduces the impact resistance applied while debuffed after a successful parry by 50%. I have no idea what that means at all. Let me know if you know what that means in the comments below, but I have no idea. We then have Heroic Assistance. It increases the charge rate of Heroic support ability by 18%. So looking at this set, if I was to recommend any item as a nice starting off one, then I would go for that slot 3 there to extend Brooklyn Brawler, so you're doing more damage, and also get the damage reduction on Commander's Call for more survivability as well. The final legendary set we have here is the first Avengers set. This drops from the elite hives, so that's the hives with the 6 floors. Out of the legendary sets, this is the one that takes the longest to actually farm, but it's always the most interesting set out of the legendary ones. Now if we look at it, you've got Brawler's Vigour on the melee piece, so that extends the duration of Brooklyn Brawler by 2 seconds. And then you have a variable effect, so it's a random status effect on a random melee attack. If you can get a nice status effect on a melee attack that you are using often, then this can actually be a pretty decent piece. Looking at the slot 2, the ranged one, you've got Precision Strike. It increases the damage dealt to enemy weak points, for example headshots, by 20%. And then the next perk, we don't have the name of it, but its ranged power attacks deal status damage, critical attacks, hits will deal additional status damage. So it's decent, but I think running a full range build and cap is really pretty niche, to be honest. But if you're going for all out ranged, it could be nice to start off. Looking at the chest plate here, offers Defender's Justice. It grants 20 points of shield block energy when successfully parrying an enemy attack. The next perk, we don't have the name, but it grants 20 points of shield block energy whenever taking damage. So with this, you're going to have a whole lot of shield block energy, so from a tanking perspective it could be useful. The last one we have for the legendary sets, it's the heroic one. This is called Safeguard. So this one here is Brooklyn Brawler Blitz is the first perk. It's 10% increased damage from Brooklyn Brawler, so that's pretty nice considering you can get a really decent uptime on that. And then it's Heroic Assistance that increases the charge rate of Heroic Ultimate ability by 18%. So overall that's actually a pretty decent piece, that last one there. It's got Proficiency and Might, which would be useful on cap as well. So again, in time when you find your perfect legendary sets that have all got free perks and all the stats you're looking for, they will beat these sets, but these are definitely a nice place to start. Now let's actually look at the exotic sets now. The first exotic set we look at here, then this drops from the heroic hives. Now with the exotic sets at the moment, there's a low chance once a week when you finish the heroic hive for it to drop. After that, I think the chance drops to very low, so you'll be unlikely to get it, but you've got a better chance on your first completion. Now looking at the melee slot 1 here, you've got a variable effect on your first 2 perks. The third perk is actually really nice. It's Taunting Finisher, so it's a % chance when an enemy is hit by a light combo finisher to become taunted. So from a tanking perspective, that could be really useful to keep your taunt uptime up. Looking at the next one, the range slot here, you've got the variable effect on your first 2 perks. The third perk, we don't have the name, but it's a % chance to taunt an enemy after a successful ranged power attack. So that's pretty nice, but it is a pretty niche item as well there. Looking at the slot 3, it's got Reflexive Jarvis Barrier. That's a % chance when parrying an incoming attack, which cap should be doing relatively often. Then you'll activate a Jarvis Barrier. The barrier protects against damage for 20% of max willpower. If you're looking to build a tanky cap, this could work out really nice. It's also got Counter Extension, increases the duration of the debuff applied to enemies after a successful parry by 3 seconds. And Aggressive Restoration, this is pretty great. It restores 5% of your max willpower whenever you defeat a taunted enemy. So you put that alongside the slot 1 where you're taunting enemies more often, and then you're getting health back and you're getting the Jarvis Barrier. A really nice combination. I imagine you can make them really tanky. Looking at the slot 4 here, the first perk is Impact Break. It further reduces the impact resistance applied when debuffed after a successful parry by 50%. Again, someone please help me out in the comments below and let me know what that means. And then we have Heroic Assistance. It increases the charge rate of Heroic Ultimate ability by 18%. That's your Brooklyn Brawler. And then Eagle's Cry, that increases the duration of Rally Cry by 3 seconds. That's a decent piece, but without a doubt, if you want to build a tanky cap, your slots 1 and 3 are really nice here. The final set we have here drops from the Mega Hives. This is the hive that's actually 5 floors, but you need to complete it 8 times, so it's 40 floors in total, and for that reason we don't actually have the range set yet. No one's actually managed to get it to drop, but I do actually update these infographics, and once they're all finalised and completed, I'll look to actually upload them onto my Discord as well. I'll put a link to the Discord in the description. But if we look at the items we can see here, the melee slot 1's really pretty great. So you have the variable effect on perks 1 and 2, nothing exciting there, but then you have Brazen Jarvis Barrier. It's a % chance when hitting an enemy with a melee critical attack to activate a Jarvis Barrier. That should be happening pretty often, and with cap, the way you're more likely going to build on being a melee tanky style character, you'll have a high health pool and you're getting 20% of that as a barrier really often, so that's really pretty amazing, that one. Of course, the ranged one, we don't have anything just yet, but again I'll update as soon as I can. Looking at the slot 3, which is the battle plate, it has Defender's Justice. It grants 20 points of shield block energy when successfully parrying an enemy attack. It has Rally Cry Bulwark, which is 15% damage reduction when Rally Cry is active, and then Evasive Protection. It increases the window of protection granted from an evade by 15%. For an exotic, I think that's a little bit underwhelming. Looking at the final slot here, the helm in this instance, this one has Rally Cry Breaker. It's 15% increased damage from Rally Cry Heroic Assistance, which increases the charge rate of Heroic Ultimate ability by 18%, and then Eagle's Cry that increases the duration of Rally Cry by 3 seconds. That's actually really pretty decent, that one. So for this set, the slot 1 and 4, the slot 1 especially, that Jarvis barrier, I cannot emphasise enough how awesome that would actually be, having it proccing when you have a melee crit there. You're going to have so much uptime on that. But that's all the sets there. Do let me know in the comments below which items you'll be looking to farm, and with these sets, as always, you don't have to run an entire set. You'll mix and match and you'll pick items, and as you play the game and you get RNG gods shining on your side, then you will get better items than the ones that actually drop here as well. But this hopefully gives you a good idea of where to actually start gear wise. So as always, hope the video's been helpful. Thanks for tuning in, stay safe, and I'll see you all again soon.